LA. Beautiful. Where are you from? I'm originally from Colombia, and I've been here, I'm studying Ramnachman's teachings for about 20 years.
People are going to be coming in over the next couple of minutes, but want to respect the punctual people here. So we're starting on time-ish. I'm Ida Schottenstein, and I'm your MC for tonight. It's an honor and a privilege to be introducing our two very special guest speakers, Gedale Fenster and Rabbi Moshe Gersht, who share a talent for taking very deep concepts that are rooted in mysticism, and making them accessible to us in a way that we can practically apply in our lives every day. Tonight, we're actually celebrating the launch of Rabbi Moshe Gersht's new book, The Three Conditions, which I've read. It's a great book. And we're also here to unite as a community in light of the events of October 7th. Our hearts and our souls are still in a lot of pain as we wait for all of our hostages to safely return home. And we continue to storm the heavens with our prayers and beseech God to bring them home now. Anyone who's been through tragedy knows that it's often in the depths of our pain that we find transcendence and we awaken a deeper and more profound relationship with ourselves and with Hashem. And we're now seeing a global Jewish awakening. People who previously had not known about their Judaism or they were not connected to their Judaism are now becoming proud Jews, and they're at the forefront of Jewish advocacy. So there's a lot of beautiful things happening when we're united, when we're strong. It's a beautiful thing to watch. We all have a very essential role to play, and I believe that your presence here tonight is one step forward in the right direction. So I'll just give you a quick overview of tonight. We're going to begin with our first speaker, who I'll introduce shortly. And then we'll hear from Gedale Fenster first and Moshe Gersht. Our special guest will share words of wisdom. And following that, we're going to dive into a roundtable discussion with some questions. And you will have the opportunity to ask any questions that you might have to Gedale or to Moshe. And I hope that tonight you leave here feeling inspired, uplifted, and more connected. There are limited copies of The Three Conditions right outside here, so please make sure to get your copy before the night's done. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce our very special guest, Gedale Fenster. Gedale is an internationally renowned motivational speaker, a spiritual leader, life coach, entrepreneur, author, and philanthropist. His approach, simple and straightforward, yet profound and wise, has empowered millions of individuals to achieve success in all aspects of their life. His teachings are firmly rooted in spirituality and the belief that our problems are truly blessings in disguise. Please welcome Gedale Fenster.
Thank you. I gotta add husband of the year eventually. That's the goal. With permission of Rabbi Moshe Gersht, he really made this this event happen tonight. He pushed, and we made it happen. We know Miami's a tough crowd to get going at night. So we appreciate everybody for coming. And I know we're very distracted sometimes in Miami. And tonight we need to get refocused. So the month of Kislev is definitely a month of awakening the trust. We just came back from the month of November, which was a tough month, which is a month to hang on. Now this is the month we really have to put the gas on. This is the month really to rekindle miracles and to already start manifesting. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to pretty much how to manifest and how to pretty much get what we want in life through states instead of chasing conditions. And this work is all similar. I mean, the whole point of everything, of all these classes, is really to get into a higher consciousness and let go. If I give you a synopsis, it's what we were doing today is when we're trying to get things in a very low state, in lack, in scarcity, in codependence, in desperation, in envy, this is why nothing's happening. So the whole point is, what we do is, thank God we have teachers like the Lubavitcher Rabbi, Rabbi Nachman, and these teachers that allow us to get ourselves in a higher consciousness when we feel trust. And the more we trust, the more we can start letting go in life and things start changing in life. And that's really what the key to this month really is, to rekindle that manifestation. So I just want to talk to you. Can I move this or no? It's a little bit stiff. Okay. I just want to rekindle pretty much what I've been doing this month and what I pretty much do in my morning routine. And it's pretty much, the key to everything. The first start in anything, just like the Jews were stuck in Egypt for 210 years, because they didn't speak out. They didn't speak out. They were completely emotionally, they were out of breath, they were exhausted, they had fatigue, and until they started opening their mouths, 210 years after, did God hear them. So the first step in anything you want, you have to express it. Remember, motivation, inspiration is just light. What we need to do in this world is create the appropriate vessels. So the first step is you have to have a conversation with your Creator, expressing desire. I want to get married. I want to be more successful. I want to have shalom bayit. The first thing has to be with speech. So this is why a lot of us, if we're not even speaking, we're not even in the game. We're not even in the game. Because everything has to go through thought, speech, and action. It's not enough just to meditate. You physically have to speak the words out. You have to speak the words out. And to the extent that that's the first step. That's the first step. Because the problem today is we're not expressing. We're holding everything in. We're holding in everything in, and all it's doing is accumulating more and more and more and more and more. So that's why the importance of Reb Nachman, he expressed a daily talking to God all the time. And when you start with the talking, at least that gets it off your chest. That gets it out. That starts the process. And remember, getting out of Egypt, it's not a one-time thing. It's getting into a place of freedom. So the first step is doing that. Once you do that enough, and you start expressing it, you start believing it. You start physically believing it. If I tell myself I'm going to win, 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 I'm physically going to start believing it. The next step is manifesting. Picturing it, picturing what you want. And remember, a sign, the same issue with everything in our lives. If our imagination is turned into catastrophe instead of manifestation, it's teaching us we don't believe in it. That's the bottom line. We don't believe in it. If we can't see it, that means we need to speak more. The whole point is when I can't see something, if I picture myself having the greatest marriage, or picture myself going down the aisle, or picture myself, whatever situation I want in my life, you need to understand God is giving you a lack not to destroy your self-esteem. He's giving you a lack so you can come closer to Him through that lack. Bottom line. The lacks are not to be taken personal. Too many of us, we're walking around with lacks, and we're taking it personal, and we're walking around like, hey, God forgot about me. We have a very dysfunctional picture of our Creator. So the purpose again of lack is to draw closer to you and give you an opportunity to come closer to Him. So just like the same thing in Egypt, same thing with us. The first thing is speaking it out. Second step is actually visualizing it. Visualizing where you want to be. We could take this effect even stronger when we add music, when you could not only visualize it, but you can actually feel it. And again, this is not some positive, motivational stuff. This is rooted in the Torah. This is rooted in the teachings of Reb Nachman, the teachings of all our sages. They all speak about visualizing. This month is the month of Kislev. You have to start visualizing. If you're not visualizing in the month of Kislev, which is Hanukkah, when are you going to? When are you going to? If this month you don't do it, when are you going to? That means there's special months that you have extra help in heaven. Next month, Tevet, when it's a tough month, when the midah is anger, much tougher to open up. So we get opportunities in our lives, and we really have to take advantage of these opportunities. You have to take advantage of the opportunities, and you have to do the work. The second step is visualizing as much as possible. And the third step is letting go of it. Letting go. That means you should walk out of any spiritual practice with a smile. Not, where's the package, where's the FedEx package of my prayers? Not, what happened to this one? That's the reason why people quit. The reason why people quit and they don't do the work is they don't get results right away. And they don't understand. This is going from a smaller consciousness to a higher consciousness. It takes time. But the hardest part is letting go of it. Because we can't attract something in our life if we're busy playing God or we're controlling it. So you need to know how to let go of it. This is why if you read our sages, oral sages are telling us the same thing. Miracles happen to people when they completely surrender. When they're able to let go of it and just let it go. How much you practice this in your daily routine is whether or not you can attract things. Why? Because thought is higher than everything. When you're actually picturing something, I said it in today's class, I can kick something 20 feet. I can yell 30 feet. I can look at something very far. But thought goes to the highest realms. So when we start becoming co-creators and we start visualizing, this is where we get everything. And this is exactly why we are getting lax in our lives. We're getting lax in our lives to give us an opportunity to co-create. And I'm going to be honest with you, when you don't do this, you start developing a victim mentality. The fact that you're not visualizing, you're automatically going to get a catastrophe. That means if you're not going for what you want, you're going to get what you don't want. So energy has to go somewhere. Energy is not just going to go away. If you're not going for what you want, you're automatically going to get what you don't want. That's the truth. So it's not like, well, I'm just going to stand in the sidelines and do nothing. Then you're going to get worry, catastrophe, doubt, holding on to things. So it's extremely important that we take this very seriously. And that's why the first step is really, really talking it out. Talk it out. Talk it out. I promise you, I've read all the books on everything. I've never seen results that I've gotten. 40,000 followers, 50,000. I get results all the time. I started doing Zibodedut, my life changed. I started doing this, and then I let the visualization, I got married. I'm telling you, I have the data. I've been doing this 7 years already. This is not some, motivational. I have the data already. I have tons of people that have gotten married, that have gotten success, that have gotten whatever they wanted, but assuming that you did the work. And the biggest key to doing the work is redeeming your imagination. And this is why prayer is called service of the heart. It's extremely challenging. You don't get instant results. It's lonely sometimes. It's difficult. But that's where I have personally seen a change of transformation. And Rabbi Nathan tells us the same thing. He tells us, a person has a problem, he has an addiction. If he doesn't use, what is he going to do? It's like breaking a matzah. If you break one problem, okay, you don't have this problem, now you're going to have another problem. But when you pray, when you get to a higher consciousness, you transform. You become a different person. So tonight is really, really, really about living a more mindfulness life. And that means changing your schedule. This is not just about tonight, hey, nice class, wonderful, mindfulness, great. It's not going to get you anywhere unless you start taking the inspiration and taking it into some kind of action. And that, to me, there's no better time to co-create than the mornings. When it's night outside, when it's quiet, or at night, right before you, in a very quiet time. That means you're going to schedule. You want to schedule to be in shape? There's a time to do it. So that's my opinion, because otherwise we go to a lot of classes and we're not really getting the next results. And that's what I'm obsessed with. I'm really obsessed with results. We don't need more followers. We don't need anything. We need results. We need you to start co-creating. And again, when you start doing this also, it's showing that you have faith. The fact that you're actually doing the work and you're actually visualizing things and you're actually doing this, it's actually showing you that you have faith. Because faith is the source of all blessings. Prayers, when Moshe's hands were up, showed that he had faith. When his hands were down, he lost. So this is not just something that we have to schedule it in. We have to schedule it in. And once you start getting addicted to this, to visualization, and you start seeing things as just an opportunity to create, your life absolutely changes. It's a game changer. Everything changes because there's no despair. It's like, okay, we have to throw it up to heaven. God gave me a problem. He wants me to come to him, and he wants me to build my emunah. And again, this is really, really the key to everything. So I promise you guys, this is the month of Kislev. This is the month of miracles. We're a week and a half away from Hanukkah. Hanukkah's miracles. You have to already be in that mindset already. You have to be in the mindset already for this energy. You can't connect to this energy if you're in a very low vibration. All you're going to do is take a selfie with a donut. That's it. That will be your Hanukkah. That will be your Hanukkah. You want to co-create. You want to take advantage of this energy. This energy is once a year. It's called the energy of the infinite light. You have once a year, 36 hours. On every night, prepare already. Prepare for this energy already. So I'm just trying to explain to you, get a little sense of urgency in these things. All I can tell you. Take a little, sleep later. Sleep when you win. You could sleep after you win. But until you're winning, you can't sleep. Sleep enough hours, wake up early and do this. And I promise you, it will change your life. Most of the times, unfortunately, things have to get really, really bad for people to do this. And for my life, when I started doing his bodhidut, it took the first 10 years of my life, I didn't do it. So, until things got really, really bad. And then when things got really bad, then my creator got my attention. But the whole point is, once you have this tool, it will absolutely change your life. I will do a class on this eventually, a more elaborate class on this. But it's basically, just because we have 10, 15 minutes, it's talking it out, visualizing it, and letting it go. The most important part is the third part, how to let go. Not be upset that it's not happening right away. Pretty much walking around as it already is. That is emunah. That is emunah. This is why the famous pasuk from our sages tell us, through joy you will go out. Through joy you will go out. That means it's not the condition that it's going to change your life. It's the decision to be in a better state through joy. That means having the confidence you're going to get answered. That's when you're going to go out. Through joy you will go out. So it means pretty much any situation in our lives. Our exit strategy has to be radical happiness. How you do it, figure it out. But getting yourself already to a higher state is how you're going to sweeten every single decree that we have. And that's really the key. Through joy, you will go out. Remember that line. That should be your tagline. Through joy, you will go out. That is the ultimate exit strategy in life, is to change your attitude in the face of adversity. To be able to show the intention, to show the ability to put this out there. And again, if it's not now, when are you going to do it? Have a great day.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Gedale. I'm sure that many questions are percolating, and you'll have the opportunity to ask questions after we hear from our other very special guest speaker. Beautiful message. You can conceive it, you can achieve it. I think we've all been through something in our lives that might warrant an attitude shift. But one thing I know is that there are people who have more than we do, who are less happy, and people who have less than we do, who are more happy. So joy is certainly something that we can all achieve. And if Hashem gave us the moral obligation to be happy, then we know that it's attainable. So Amen. That's an inspiring message. Thank you, Gedale.
Amen.
Okay, so Moshe Gersht. Well, why am I here introducing these two very special speakers? A few years ago, I had just realized that I was trying to remember where I came across his work. Our son Ari was in yeshiva in Israel, and I was on FaceTime with him, and I noticed the book in the background. I said, "What's that book?" And he said, "Oh, it's a really good book, Ma. You should read it. It's called It's All the Same to Me. I got it from Rafa. Rafa told me I have to read it." Rafa being Rafa and Jusier, Rabbi Lipsker's very special grandson, who's currently serving in the IDF, and his mom is right here. Hi, DL. And so Rafa read the book, gave it to Ari. My son Ari read the book, gave it to me. I read the book, and long story short, here we are. Became a big fan of Rabbi Moshe Gersht, and now his new book, which is fabulous, highly recommended. And now you get to read it yourselves. Rabbi Moshe Gersht is a spiritual teacher, Wall Street Journal best-selling author of the book It's All the Same to Me, the one I was referring to earlier. He has devoted his life to seamlessly bridging the worlds of Torah, mystical wisdom, the true nature of the human mind, and our collective struggles. His TED Talk, seen over 1 million times to date, has become the catalyst for this new book, The Three Conditions, How Intention, Joy, and Certainty Will Supercharge Your Life. He currently lives in Israel with his wife and his children, and he's come to spend this evening with us, and we're so grateful to have him here. Share some inspiring messages and words of wisdom. So go.
Thank you, yeah.
Good evening, Miami. And it is a beautiful evening. You know, Gedale kept speaking about the energy of Kislev, the energy of Kislev, but the energy of Gedale. Yeah? So now you're feeling it. You're feeling the energy of Kislev. I can guarantee it, that energy of manifestation. It's there, it's in the room. I almost canceled this trip for obvious reasons. I live in Israel. And if you would have asked me a month ago if I would be here, I really didn't know that this was going to happen. I've been on the road now for about 5 weeks.
Wow.
It's a long time to be away from family when there's not a war. And when I looked at my mentors and my wife, and I asked them what they thought about me coming out anyway, it was a couple weeks after. We spent a long time in mourning, a long time in anxiety and fear. And my mentor said, look, we're in a time that looks really, really dark. And what we do in this world is try to add more light. So really, it's all up to your wife. If she's good, we're all for more light. And I looked at my wife and I asked her, what do you think? And she said, look, I'll take care of the home, make sure that doesn't fall apart. And you go out and try to help make sure the world doesn't fall apart. And together we're doing the same thing. So here we are. So I can't take credit for this. We have to thank my wife first in terms of us all coming together. Gedale said that it's really about coming to a higher consciousness. And that's really what this is all about. All this work. All of Torah, all of Hasidus, all of Kabbalah, all of self-help, all of spirituality, all of this work is about going from here to here. It's a movement in that direction. I've got a few little kids at home, and one day all my kids were out. It was a Shabbos. My kids were out of the house. My wife was out of the house. It was quiet. And when it's quiet and you hear it, oh my gosh, I haven't heard that in so long. It's quiet. And I thought, this is a great time to go and meditate. And I went and I sat on my couch. I closed my eyes. And I just went in. And about 15 seconds later, the door slams open and the kids come in and it's all good. But I hear my daughter, she's about 7 years old, and she comes in with her cousin, Ahava and Mayan. They come into the room. And my daughter, Ahava, says, yo, let's go ask my dad if we can have some popcorn. And Mayan says, yeah, let's have some popcorn. So Ahava walks in the room and says, Abba, can we have some? Oh, we can't ask him. Why not? He's meditating. Oh. I think he'll let us have the popcorn anyway. And they turn around, they start walking the other room, and Mayan asks my daughter Ahava, what did you say? And she said, oh, I think he'll let us have the popcorn anyway. And she said, no, that other thing, meditating? And she said, oh, yeah, meditating. She said, yeah, what's that? And she said, oh, well, he's talking to Hashem. You should try it sometime. You'll like it. So Mayan says, in her beautiful, sweet, innocent 7-year-old voice, I do talk to Hashem, but he doesn't talk back. So Ahava looks at her and says, that's why you should meditate. And I thought it was so beautiful. I have no idea if she understood the depth of what she was saying. What she was saying was, when we pray, like we were just speaking about, you got to say the words. That's us expressing out to God. But then at some point, we have to turn down the noise and tune back in and hear, well, what's being said. We tune into reality. We want the blessings to come in, so we let things out, and then we become that vessel. We open ourselves up to bring it in. But sometimes we've got so much noise going on inside of our minds, inside of our hearts. And now more than ever, the world feels loud, feels really, really loud. And the pasuk says, Lo berash Hashem. That means God is not found in the noise. God's not found in the noise. And it's not talking about Miami Beach and Manhattan. It's talking about the noise up here. It's talking about the noise in here. We have a lot of noise going on in our lives. And what we care about most is if we can just dial it down a little bit, we start to hear something extremely powerful, extremely deep. And it's just about tuning in, getting back into that place. Sometimes we meditate, and sometimes the world kicks us into that consciousness. Crisis and chaos sometimes wake us up. And I can tell you that, I don't know about you, but I can probably guess that every single person in this room, and if we went really deep, most people on the planet, life isn't the same anymore. There was a life before October 7th, and there's a life after October 7th, and there was a demarcation that was put right there. There's a story about the Chozeh Lublin, one of the great Hasidic Rebbes. It's called the seer of Lublin, that he could see deeply. And when he was 5 years old, he would go out to the forest. He was a student of Gedale. He'd go out to the forest. And at some point, his mother looked at him and said, why do you keep going out to the forest? She said, oh, I'm going to go talk to Hashem. And she said, oh, don't you know? Hashem is the same everywhere. And he said, yeah, mommy, but I'm not.
Beautiful.
There are certain places we go, and we're different people. We're higher people. There are certain times in our life. You show up on a Friday night. It might have been a busy Friday afternoon, but the moment you get into Friday night, things have changed. Something's different. You enter a different time, and something inside it was there all the time, but a time can change what's happening inside of us. A place can change what's happening inside of us. People we're with can change what's happening inside of us, and they bring out a level of depth, a spirit that was there the whole time. So we've gone through a collective tragedy. We've gone through a collective series of pain and suffering. And none of this is to put that aside, but at the same time, we have to look at and maybe even leverage some of the good that we are experiencing afterwards. We would have never asked for it, but now that we're here, we have to look at it. And one of those things are this level of unity, right? This level of connection that people feel that was there the whole time, but we didn't feel it the same way. We didn't experience it the same way. And now it's here. And we have to ask ourselves, what really changed? What changed? Why is it all of a sudden we woke up, we're awake, and wow, it's not even about family. It's not nationalism, and it's not religious. It's a consciousness of unity. It's something even more. And it's something you can't even explain, but you know it deeply, deeply within. Where did it come from? So what happens is, we create boxes. We live in boxes. We like to put people in boxes, right? That's what we do. Like it or not, we put people in boxes. This is the people who daven at this place. These are the people who daven at that place. These are the Lithuanians. These are the Hasidim. These are the Ashkenaz. These are the Sephardic. These are the Republicans. These are the Democrats, right? Everybody's got a box. We love boxes. So much so that we create giant boxes and pray in different boxes. We all have our places, and in one moment, all the boxes disappeared. In one moment, because the boxes are an illusion. They make us feel safe, maybe. They make us feel micro-community, but ultimately, they're not real. There's a line in a book called A Course in Miracles. I think about it all the time because it's just so powerful. And it says the following: that which is real can never be threatened. That which is unreal doesn't exist. Herein lies the peace of God. So let's meditate on that just for a minute. That which is real can never be threatened, meaning there's something real in this world, in your life, in your experience, that is untouchable. Call it the soul, the neshama, the spirit, call it God, call it Hashem, but there's something that's untouchable, an unmovable, unshakable part of our reality. And no one can touch that. The second line is that which is unreal doesn't exist. And what's unreal? It's all the things we think matter so much that really we've over-prioritized. It's not to say that the outside and the physical and the material doesn't exist. It exists. We want to get married. We want to have relationships. We want to have cars. We want to have business. But how many people in this room were thinking about their business on October 8th? How many people were thinking about their bank account or thinking about anything else they were involved with? That wasn't there. Why? Because that which is unreal ultimately doesn't exist at the deepest level. And when we can prioritize what's real and let go of the things that matter less, It's a bit much. We find peace. I'm afraid. Yeah, we're good? Okay. So we find peace. And where does it come from? So there's another pasuk. It's a verse, it's one of my favorite verses in the Torah, and it says, Va'anochi omeid bein Hashem u'beinechem. And what that means is it was Moshe Rabbeinu, and he was talking to the Jewish people, and he got up and he said, and I stand in between you and God. And the Baal Shem Tov explains so beautifully. He says, it wasn't just saying I, as in Moshe, stands between you and God, but I, the ego, is what stands between us and God. It's the I, the I-ness, the isness, what in Chassidus is called yeshus. It's that feeling that we're separate from others, separate from God, separate from ourselves. This is what we call ego. Ego. Very simple. There's an acronym. They say ego stands for edging God out. Yeah? We edge God out of our lives. The Arizal says that it's our ego that screams the following two words. Ana emloch, ana emloch. Ana emloch means I'm in control. I'm in control. I know better. I'm in control. I know better. I have my thoughts. It's my attachments to these thoughts and opinions and expectations we have about reality, or in simple language, it's everything I think should. All the shoulds of our life. It should be like this. It should be like that. All my shoulds and shouldn'ts of reality. And I'm so attached to it that I can't see what's actually happening, and that's the noise. That's the noise we're talking about, where there's so much noise that we're not tuning into that thing that's deeper, so we can just hear what's there, what's already there. And you know what's already there? Goodness, love, kindness, compassion, understanding, integrity, inspiration, enthusiasm, love. That's what's already there. That's what's there first. The Mesilas Yesharim says that really, really, we are like magnets with the divine, and we should be colliding with that space all the time. But there's a wall that's put in between us and everything we're looking for, and it's self-generated. And we keep the wall up. We prop the wall up. He says, and that's the ego. How do we shine more of that light through? Well, what the ego is it's an idea. It's just an idea that I am in as much as I have in this world. So there are things I need to have, places I need to go, people I need to know, jobs I need to have, cars I need to have, houses I need to have, opinions that need to be right. We love being right. And so when we do that, we took all the value that's already there, all the worthiness that's already there, all the goodness that's already there, and we make it conditional. If I get there, then I'm good enough. Then I'm worthy. Then I can be then I am a good person. I sat with someone the other day, and he looked at me, and he said, Rabbi, I don't understand. I look at the world, and the world looks like it's broken. The world looks bad. And I can't shake it. I said, I understand. I just have one question. I said, are you a good person? And he said, I don't know. I said, well, think about it. Are you a good person? And he closed his eyes. When he opened his eyes, he had tears in his eyes. He said, I don't believe I'm a good person. And I looked at him and I said, well, that's the problem. He said, yeah, I know, I have to be better. I said, no, that's not the problem. The problem is you still don't know you're a good person. There's a great story about a monastery where there were these monks learning how to become monks. And so all these new students, like the freshman monks, they were all there meditating, learning how to do what they're doing. And one by one, they're kind of like popping into enlightenment. And they start saying, wow, the world's so beautiful. And whoa, the trees are amazing and unbelievable. Did you see the sky? And the world is so beautiful. And there's one student, and he says, I don't see what you're seeing. And he goes to his master, and he says, I don't understand. I don't see a beautiful world. And the master looks at him and says, what you fail to see in here, you'll fail to see out there. It's already here. It's already inside. There's a lot of noise blocking us from the light that's already there. When I landed in Los Angeles, again, this is about 5 weeks ago, and I had no idea what the social climate was going to be when I got here. By the way, there's two very different tensions. There's tension in Israel right now, and it's one type of tension, and there's a completely different tension that you feel here in America. I don't know if anybody's been to Israel in the last month. Anybody here? Yeah? Good handful of people. It feels different. There's just different, it's not that one's more or less tense, it's just different uncertainties. And so when I got here, I was wearing a baseball cap. I went to an ATM machine, and I was standing there waiting to make a deposit, and the security guard looked at me, and he said, "Why are you hiding under your hat?" I said, "Excuse me?" He said, "Why are you hiding under your hat? We know who you are." And it was this feeling of, oh, things are different around here. But he became a metaphor for me for this whole month of what are the things in our life we're wearing under a hat. Do we know who we are? Sometimes we're hiding. We're hiding from something that's already there. And that, I think, is truly the question of the hour, the question of this time, really the question of our lives. Do we know who we are? Can we stand proud as the person that we are? Avram Avinu spends his entire life looking for God. And when he finally finds him, you know what God says to him? Go to yourself. What do you mean? I've spent my entire life looking for the big man upstairs. Why? There's a creator, there's God, there's all these. You want to find me? Did you find you? All the answers are already inside of us. All the love is already inside of us. All the goodness is already inside of us. But it's on us to tune in, and we have to tune out the noise. And sometimes we just need to sit and get some perspective. And when you sit and get a little quiet, you get that perspective, you get a little space. And for a lot of people, they tell me, but I don't have time to meditate. I don't have time for that space. You know what I say? If you don't have time for that space, you need to meditate twice as long. You need it more than anybody. You have no space in your life. There's no space to feel the you that's already there. So of course you need it. Of course you're feeling anxiety and frustration and stress and pain and grief. And it's on overdrive because instead of getting the space, we do this. Our thumbs are strong. We live in a strong generation. We need some space. We need some quiet. And in that quiet, we come back to that place where we can say, I'm not hiding under my hat. I know who I am. I know I am good. I know I am love. I know I am joy manifest in this world, an extension of that infinite light. And I am that person. And everywhere I go, I don't have to become good. I just have to allow the goodness within me to emerge. It's already there. We should be blessed to find it and share it, not just so that we feel good, but that we are the light for the rest of the world. And every candle lights up the room. Blessed.
Amen. Beautiful.
Okay, thank you, Rabbi Moshe Gersht, for your beautiful words of wisdom. So now we're going to have a little roundtable discussion, and we'll open the floor to some questions if you have any. We'll start with one question that comes from some curious people. So what would you say to someone who says, I want to stay positive and I want to look at the bright side of things, but how do I do that when the world looks so bad sometimes? How can I stay positive?
You're asking me?
I'm asking,
Whatever.
let's start with Gedale, because we haven't heard from you in a while.
Right. What time are these kids going to sleep? That's the first question.
9:10 soon.
The noise.
How do you stay positive? I mean, honestly, this is, it's always something in our lives. It's COVID, it's always something. There's always going to be something out there, I feel. It's the economy, it's 2008, it's 9/11. It's just, there's always something always out there. There's plenty of reasons not to be positive. But this is why we have to live inside out, not outside in. I myself, I've gone through tremendous challenges. I've gone through divorce. I've gone through, my child passing. So positivity is not an option. Without positivity, your brain doesn't work. So I tell myself, if I'm not going to be positive, my brain is not going to work. So, Reb Nachman would always give us, ways to get there. And some ways could be, either sometimes working out, listening to music, getting in a different state, learning Hasidus. But it's not, for me, it's not an option because otherwise my brain doesn't work. So that's what I associate positivity to. Without positivity, it's a survival for me. So I think again, there's no. I could tell you right now, there's never been a greater opportunity of unity like this. For sure, people are coming out of the closet, literally, not that kind of closet, but different kind of closets, the spiritual closets, and it's an opportunity I've had. I mean, people like all of a sudden, please, where's the podcast, etc. In Israel, we're there's not enough demand for tzitzit. People don't even know who they're dating now because they don't know who's religious because everybody's wearing tzitzit. I mean, you understand? Restaurants in Tel Aviv are making kosher meals for the soldiers. So this is one of the greatest tikkunim that are happening. So that's the positivity, the light after the darkness. So I think it's anything in life. Again, it's whenever we see the good in something, it's because we see godliness in it. And it's the matter of that, but it does take tremendous practice, and you do need rituals to get there. If you don't have the rituals, I don't know how to. You're just going to absorb negativity. But without the rituals, without me doing my rituals, it's almost impossible for me to be positive.
So it makes sense that if we're looking back at things that happened in our lives that we can't control, that it only makes sense to see the positive in the things that happen, because why see the negative? What benefit is there? Looking forward, right? You mentioned the shidduchim and marriage, and I think that there's specifically the people trying to find their soulmate. How do you balance where you're at with what you want? We want to be positive and have Muna and Shtadlis. So how can we be content? And how does someone remain content knowing they want something so badly and they don't yet have it? Like with shidduchim, and then I have a question for Moshe right after. I feel like it's on the same
following
note.
Up to you.
Right.
And I know that you work a lot with couples. That's why I'm asking this question to you and with relationships.
Right. I mean, again, like everything else, many people tell me, set me up with. Please set me up with this guy. I'm so depressed. I need a guy. Like, it's like almost telling a guy, let me get you a CEO from bankruptcy court. So obviously, we always think that it's and guess what? When you're dealing just people that are married, they say 50% of the first marriages get divorced. Second marriages, I think 79%, and I think 1% of the people who pray together get divorced. Don't get divorced. So if they're praying together, 99% chance that they could stay married.
Wow.
There's exactly. So I've never had probably so much sacrifice that I've had in my marriage. It's a tremendous amount of sacrifice. So you have to ask people, are they willing to do the work? And there's so many variables. I mean, whatever you think you're going to be married, they're going to change. And so many things are going to happen in life. So I would say today is like Reb Nachman would say for men, they need to be, the answer is to be very, very, to have self-control and self-confidence. That is the key for men to have, if you're looking for a guy, that's what you should look at. And obviously for women, to be able to have a receiving energy. Sometimes things get very, very rough, and women are very into survival, and they don't become receivers anymore, and they become too tough, or they become too masculine with their energy. So it'd be, again, men becoming men, women becoming women, just like Adam and Eve.
Okay. So many people are struggling with this question, given the circumstances in the world, and after October 7th. It's like, what do we do? That we're almost 2 months away from this tragedy. How would you answer someone who says, what do I do now?
Yeah, go ahead. Maybe just to touch on just one piece before we jump into that question, I just want to say I think that's a wonderful way of looking at things, which is it's not a choice.
Right.
Right? As the question was, how do I stay positive in a chaotic world? Which sounds like I have to make the decision as to whether or not I am positive or not. And
not a
I think
choice.
what you're saying is that's a strategy. There's a strategy to life, which is whether I like it or not, there's two ways to go through life. I could be negative or positive. So what are you going to choose? I think that's a beautiful way of looking at things. And of course, you gain all the psychological and spiritual benefits of being positive. Just on that note, I think there's something really important just to remember for someone who's struggling with that, which is 99.9% of everything has to be going right for us to complain about one thing going wrong. Right? That's just the truth. I mean, we have to remember we are on a ball floating through space. The fact is, we didn't fall off.
Right.
Everything's like, so long as there's still gravity, we're okay, right? Like by and large, we're okay. Are you breathing? Can you see? If you're telling someone that you have a problem, that means there's someone in your life. That's amazing. I mean, there's so much has to go right to focus on the things that are going wrong, that there is a time to go general. It's not to say don't feel pain. There's a time to feel pain, right? You don't walk into a shiva house and say Gamzu Latova, right? Don't do that. But there's also a time when we're sitting there and we have to just go general and get a bigger perspective and realize so much is going well. There's so many other things that are working. It's important to remember, as far as I'm concerned, we live in the best time in human history to date. And it's only getting better. And if you have any emunah, we know that. We're moving in the right direction. We've always been moving in the right direction. It's kind of like the stock market where things are always trending up, even if there's dips along the way, right? So there's going to be dips, and there's going to be challenges, and there's going to be hardships, and there's going to be setbacks. But you don't pull your money out. You stay in the game, you stay in life, knowing that things are moving in the right direction. We're in a beautiful time. So on that note, and as far as the second question, what would I tell somebody? What now? We're sitting next week. In a week will be 2 months. Hard to imagine 2 months. It doesn't feel like 2 months ago. Our presence is our power. I think that's what I would say to somebody right now, which is we can't change groups. There's no such thing. A nation is an idea, it's a concept, right? We change individuals. When a million individuals change, so then a group of a million people have changed. But the concept of a group doesn't shift. So we ask ourselves, well, what can I do? How can I show up more? So when you show up as your light, as your loving self, your compassionate self, your peaceful self, peaceful people do peaceful things. Violent people do violent things. Angry people do angry things. Our state of consciousness, our being, our presence, is the way that we change the world. And there's an opportunity now to be more deeply connected to that, to remember just a couple months ago, we were all shaken to the core, and we're still living in that earthquake. We're still living in that space. And the benefit was the walls went down. The benefit is we're now experiencing something deeper that we didn't feel before. So we can go deeper. So what about within? And if you go to that place, you're now the light in the world. You are the light. That's how we make the world a better place. Sounds so cliche, but it's so simple and so true.
Yeah, I love that. If you're saying something's wrong, that's usually the exception. It's like, wait a minute, let's talk about what's going right. Then we can get to the stuff that's not really working out. So it's just simply a shift in focus that you're saying is very important. Just remember, hey, this isn't working, but all this other stuff is working. So we focus on the stuff that is working.
Right. Yeah, I had someone who used to run programs, and I was sitting at a table at the first meeting that we had together, and he walked in, and there was maybe 8 of us at the table, and he sat down and he said, okay, so what's going well? And I was so used to people sitting down when they run organizations saying, okay, what are the problems? What's going wrong? And just the orientation of what's going well changes everything, right? We're starting in what's good. We'll get to the problems, we'll fix the problems, but let's talk about what's working.
Let's talk about what's working. So, of course, we have many blessings in our lives, blessed to be able to be here tonight. Does anyone have any questions that they want to ask Moshe or Gedale? Yes. You want to share your name and your question? you want to come and take the mic?
Hold this, I'll help her. Yeah, there you go.
My question is, where in the Torah ever mention positive or negative? If you go back to the Bereshit and you quote me that Hashem said that on Tuesday double talk, and on the first day or second day he didn't like it. You're talking about the energy which is not in the body. We don't know, I don't know that energy. But the point is that where in the Torah any conversation between Hashem, sometimes it's Elohim, sometimes it's Yud Kei Vav Kei, sometimes it's Shin Dalet Yud, sometimes it's Adon. Where in the Torah anybody can show it, that conversation between all the levels, with Abraham, Isaac, Yaakov, Moshe, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Aaron's sons, anybody. It's a matter of positive or negative. That's what I want to know, where these words, two words, besides Monday, Tuesday, talk, double talk, one talk, three talk, 100 talks, what's coming from? You're talking about Hashem. Where does it come from, these two things? That's it.
So I'm sure there's both. We both probably have something to say on this, but just on short, Elisheva, yeah. So if I understood the question correctly, it's there are these two forces, and where do we see something in the Torah that points out that there's a choice of what we should be looking at, and we can choose to tap into the good, the positive, as opposed to the negative. Is that I just want to make sure I'm understanding.
Where in the Torah does it say you have to be positive?
Right. So, I mean, I think yeah?
I want to know exactly the source of it, that when a rabbi or scientists talk about positive and negative,
yeah,
right? Because we know if we break down the letters of on the Torah, amen, or good, or tov, we break it down in a secret way, we get secret things. But where does it come from? I mean, even Satan is taught, even Amalek is taught. I am from Iran. If I didn't have Khomeini, which I call it Haman at that time, Iranian Jews would kiss the Torah and put it in the closet. In a way, Iranian Jews, some of them are here, sitting over here. At that time, I was in the United States. But if that Haman as Khomeini wouldn't walk into Iran, Iranian Jews wouldn't survive as a Jew. So that Khomeini also was a Jew. So I want to know, where does it come from? I mean, that's what people cannot connect to the positive and negative. Because 1 minute you are positive, the next minute you are negative. So because emet is not there, if you talk about emet, we can confront with emet, we're not going to be shaky. Then we're not going to face the Satan. When emet is not there, Satan is there. So if you talk, I mean, you as a rabbi and Mr.
Gedale.
Talk the correct, I mean, in a way.
Okay, let's answer her question. Let's answer her question. Okay. Yeah, we don't want this to be a confession here.
I'll just say two things, and then we'll pass the mic. At the end, in Sefer Devarim, God says that we have to be b'charta b'chaim, right? That God places in front of us life and death, good and bad. B'charta b'chaim. Choose life, choose good. That's the choice, not a choice. It's not one of the choices. It is the choice of life. The choice is, what do we choose to connect to? What do we choose to associate with? If we choose to connect to negativity and evil, we are choosing death. And if we choose to connect to the light and to the good, we are choosing life. And that's why it wasn't even a conversation. And one could even ask, why did God have to tell us to choose life? Isn't it obvious? And it's to say, obvious or not, I want you to know that I want you to live in the light. I, Hashem, I want you to choose the light. I want you to choose life. I want you to choose the goodness. And just to connect it back, you asked about the avos, right, and the imos. So one of the central stories, I know Gedale speaks about this a lot, about Yosef HaTzadik, one of the central stories in Bereshit is about the brothers, and they throw him in a pit, and he gets sold into slavery, and he goes through this whole story of, tragic, and then hero building until it all works out. But at the end, the brothers are still afraid that Yosef is mad at them. So they show up, and they try to appease him, and Yosef says, you still didn't get it. Atem chashavtem alai ra'a ve'elokim chashva l'tova. You still think that what happened was bad, but God, Elohim, even Elohim, said it was good. There was good here. And that's the perspective shift. That's why it comes from Yosef, who's the tzaddik, who's Yesod, who's the channel for a higher consciousness. He's telling us all the things, even being thrown into a pit. You're the one who thinks it's bad. God is always thinking that it's good. That's one of the major lessons that we have to walk around with.
Parshas Ray says, here, I'm blessing you today with a blessing or curse. It's up to you. So the light from the infinite comes in undifferentiated. It's up to the person to make the vessel. But the light says at Parshas Ray, I'm giving you a blessing or a curse. It's up to you. Do you see life as a blessing or do you see it as a curse? Another Parshas Kisava talks about the 98 curses that the Jews had because they didn't serve God with joy. So there's a lot of, the oral law speaks, tremendous about happiness all over the place. Rabbi Nachman said, first be happy, then be religious. Because without joy, there's no connection. This is what I see, in my personal opinion, when there's only tradition without godliness. It doesn't always put a smile on your face. That's the problem. A lot of times just tradition without chassidus, without godliness, sometimes doesn't do much. I don't know if dipping an apple in honey is going to make your year, but you need a little bit more than tradition today. And I think that's really the key. You really need godliness and Shekhinah in our lives. So there's many times where there's blessing or curse. Tons of cases in the Torah.
There. Did you want to come forward to ask the question here? Unless we can get the mic going. Okay. Oh, good. We have a little wire here. Just don't want to mess with anything here. Yeah.
Thank you so much. My name is Menachem. And your question before was, how do we stay positive? My question is for you, Moshe. How do we stay with Ishtabut? And what are the prerequisites to go into Ishtabut? And how do we maintain that state?
So, sorry, say your name again?
Menachem.
Menachem asked, how do we get to Hishtavut and how do we stay in Hishtavut? And just for those who are unfamiliar with the language that he's using, Hishtavut is the language of the Baal Shem Tov. Hishtavut translates as equanimity or sameness, right? From the word shaveh, right? Hebrew speakers know shaveh means it's equal or it's the same. And there's a concept in Torah called Hishtavut or Hishtavus, which is living in a space of sameness, and in a world where everything is different, by the way. No two people are the same, no two moments are the same, but there's something behind all the moments, behind all the people, that is a soul, a God, spirit, consciousness, right, that one can connect to. That is the same, right? So I named the book It's All the Same to Me because it's about Hishtavut, which I could have called It's All Hashem to Me.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, or It's All God to Me, right? Because behind everything, it's one source. There's one unified source behind everything. However, when I did call it It's All the Same to Me, my brother said he's going to write a book, and it's called It's All the Same to Him. So how do you get there? And how do you stay there? So on one foot, Menachem, because it did write a book about it, and so it's more than one foot. But the biggest thing is really what we were speaking about before. The first step is awareness. with everything. It's being aware that there is noise, what in modern language we call mindfulness, right? Being aware that I'm having thoughts about myself, I'm having thoughts about my life, I'm having thoughts about reality, and being able to let them just pass right through, right? The same thing with our emotions, the same thing with our perspectives and our opinions. It's to realize that our opinion is only that, an opinion. It's not right or wrong, it's just a thought in our head. And when we create a little bit of space from that, allow it to be there, so something magical happens. The moment we stop fighting the moment we stop resisting reality, we start to feel light. We make the fight with the world, right? When we can make the present moment our ally instead of an enemy, a friend instead of someone we're fighting, life is good. Life is good. The hard part of his shtavos is there's a lot of things we're upset about, and we carry it. So we carry the things we're upset about, piggybacking on the negativity conversation. So when we carry the things that we're upset about, so we don't feel good. But when we learn to see them as just thoughts in our mind, as just opinions that we picked up along the way, beliefs, which by the way, beliefs aren't you. We think that we are what we believe, but we're not what we believe, and I can prove it, because you can change what you believe. If you can change what you believe, then it's not you. So it's all about coming back to that sense of self that's on the inside, making friends with the present moment. The Baal Shem Tov says, if you want to live there, he says every person has to live with one sentence in their mind. I'll say it in Hebrew and then I'll translate it. He says, Ein li al haaretz rak rega achad, harega shel achshav. I only have one moment in this world, and that moment is right now. If we lived in that space, where we weren't holding on to grievances from the past and anxieties about our future, we're literally living in the gift. This is a gift. This is a gift. This is a gift. We're in the state of the gift. That's one of the most direct ways in, is the portal of the present moment.
Do you have any thoughts on?
I mean, it's also something that I don't believe you can just stay there the whole time.
Yeah.
We're always shifting and from mochem kadnu to constrict the consciousness, to expand the consciousness, to constrict the consciousness, to expand the consciousness. So it's really how long you live in the constriction consciousness. But I personally, my own life, I mean, I could probably have studied Rabbi Nachman's years, classes for 20 years. I have huge ups and downs, huge. And it's not that I'm bipolar, or it's just Rabbi Nachman himself used to get up sometimes 20 times in a day. Because in order for you to get to a new level of knowledge, you sort of have to break down. It's not a fall, but it's really a rise. So being in that moment, in constant, high consciousness, it's almost impossible, because then you would never be humble and you would never grow. It's only when you're in a constricted consciousness do you yearn and you cry and you yearn to get to the higher consciousness. So it's the lows that create the new highs. So, and even Rav Nachman says many times that a person sometimes his consciousness will be taken away from him. How many times do we know what to do, but we do the stupidest things in the world? It's, God is keeping us humble. He's keeping us humble. But I don't think the key is the up should always be higher. And the lows, you need to hang on. But is it ever going to be, can I say that my mornings and my afternoons are the same? Probably, absolutely not. It's a different energy. It's a different connection. A new day's coming. So there's always that fluctuation of highs and lows.
But the framework stays the same.
It's, know where you are, correct.
The framework is there are highs and lows.
Correct. And sometimes souls are different. Like, Rabbi Nachman speaks many times of souls from tohu, souls from chaos. There's people that are more chaotic, Moroccan energy, self-destruct in 20 minutes. If things are too calm, they'll make a mess. So there's always something happening, and some souls are very stable, and they don't need the ups and downs. You understand? So we're all also, you have to understand yourself, like Rav Kook says, the highest level of spirituality is to know oneself. And to know yourself, what works for you is not going to work for him. Sometimes if you put me in another guy's life, I would be bored I wouldn't know what to do with myself. So I need a certain level of energy in my life, but certain people don't. They're okay, 9 to 5, eat meat and potatoes, consistency. That's what they want. So we all have to understand we're all very different, and that's why you can't judge. I run a treatment center, and there's different people. You got to talk to people where they're at in their life. So that's what I've seen. Everybody it's just they're rooted different tikkunim, different baggage, different things to fix. But the most important part is don't lose yourself. Get to know yourself.
Yes. Question.
Sorry about the Moroccan jokes. Two more I have tonight. She doesn't listen to my classes.
Good evening, guys. First of all, thank you for this. This has been very informative. My name is George Gersht in Hebrew terms. So I had two goals. One, you said when you were in LA, the security guy said, "Take the hat off. We know who you are." Was it in an abrasive way or in a way of free yourself and be who you are?
So in the beginning, honestly, I didn't know. And what happened after that was I took him aside. I walked out of the line and I went to speak to him just to make sure that we're on the same page here. And he said, "Yeah, look, I see that you're dressed up a certain way and you look a certain way. So why are you hiding under that hat?" There was another person on the line who was wearing a kippah. He said he's wearing it, and I said, "Yeah, you're right. I just landed. I didn't know what was going on." So it turned out I think the idea over there was he was just trying to say, "Look, you're okay." But that was followed up with, "So do you really believe they put babies in ovens?"
Oh, wow.
That's what he said to me right afterwards. So
wow.
I don't know. That's the bottom line. I don't know.
And Gedale, when I'm viewing your content, which has helped me immensely, I have a million questions put in front of you. They're not coming to my head. I don't have stage fright, but I just want to say thank you for everything.
My pleasure. My pleasure. My pleasure.
Okay, we have a question over there.
Before Shalem LA, also we need to do it before Shalem LA.
I mean, yeah, that would have been anyway. Yeah,
wow,
heavy.
Wow. My name is Jonathan, and my question is: we know that you're able to be positive through mourning. Is it good? Is it okay? Is it normal to finish mourning very quickly, to get over with it quick? Like how long on October 8th could you be normal?
right. Is it okay to have a quick morning prayer? Is it your
not morning to move on fast from
to move fast?
Is there a period of mourning that's necessary, or can we just move on? Can we be okay on October 8th? You said, can we be okay on October 8th, so soon after a huge tragedy, or do we have do we have to allow ourselves some time to work through the tragedy and struggle, or can we just,
I mean, with anything in out there, we're always getting a lesson, and we will get the same lesson in life until we fix it. So the strategy is obviously when you see something breaking, you have to fix it. When we lose, we shouldn't lose the lesson. That's the problem. We lose the lesson too. So it's not the answer is to go back right away. It's to fix. It's to get the same momentum and to be able to build a bigger vessel. If you're not coming back bigger after this, then you lost the lesson, and you will get the same lesson again. And whether it's with everything else in our lives, are you getting the lesson from the situation? It's black and white in our face. This lesson. Are you getting the lesson? This is not about 2 or 3 business days. This is about, are you building a lesson? Are you changing? Have you changed? Did this affect you? And if it didn't affect you, then it's a problem. But it shouldn't be something quick. It should be something where you build a bigger vessel. And that's any purpose of any breakage is to build a bigger vessel. And if we're not doing that, then lessons come again. God forbid.
So pain is real. Let's start there. And when we're in pain, physical or emotional, I don't know that there's an idea that one is supposed to rush through pain, rush to get to the other side. That to be there in that space that's what's showing up for us right now, right? There's a reason why Shiva is 7 days. Oh, what if I'm feeling good on the third day? No, Shiva is 7 days. Right? There's a process, a mourning process even there, right? And even that 7, and then it goes to 30, and then it goes to 12, right? There's a process, and even if we start to move in the right direction, I don't know if there's an idea that we have to force ourselves out of that, but that processing itself brings one to peace, brings one to healing, brings one to that higher consciousness through time. Now, it could be what you were asking is, but what if I am feeling better? And I don't know if that, I couldn't tell if your question was, should I get to the end faster, or what happens if I do, right? The second one? Okay. So I think there's two sides to that coin. If the reason you're feeling better is because you didn't let yourself feel the first time, so it's not that you rushed to positivity, it's that we bypassed the situation. We just kind of went over it. And that happens. And that happens to all of us sometimes, where we're just our head's somewhere else. We didn't really feel into what's going on, so we let it. We were like Passover, right? We missed the moment, and that's normal. That happens to us in different times. Some moments are so big that no one can miss it, right? But let's say you really did feel, and you really did go in, and you really were in that place, and you really did process it, and you really are on the other side. And when I keep saying really, because I mean it has to be real, authentic. Like I've authentically been in that pain, and I'm authentically moved through it. Now I'm on the other side. I don't know that there is an idea that now I should force myself back because I went too fast. I went too soon. There was the first few weeks after what happened on October 7th, a lot of the conversation I was having with people is remember that whatever you're feeling is the right feeling. If you're feeling grief, that's right. If you're feeling positive because you see all the people, all the Jewish people coming together doing good things, that's beautiful. If you're feeling nothing because you're numb, that's fine. I mean, the first step is whatever you're feeling, that is okay. There's no shoulds when it comes to our emotions because that's where we're at. Now, is there something you want to do? You want to be somewhere else? You feel like I'm not feeling deep enough? Then by all means, there's a concept in Torah called being nosei b'ol chavero, which means creating space to hold on and feel the pain that someone else is going through. And that's a beautiful thing. You feel empathy, you feel compassion, you want to feel connected to them. That's beautiful. But the obligation to put yourself into a different state, if you've truly gone through whatever process you're going through, and now you're feeling positive and hopeful because you're thinking about all the good things that are happening, and now you want to take positive action. I don't know if there's an idea that you have to force yourself back. The one thing you want to be careful about is you don't want to become callous. Just because you're feeling good doesn't mean the people around us are feeling good. Just because you're feeling positive doesn't mean the people around you are there yet. And so, again, same kind of metaphor we said before, you don't go into a Shiva house and say, all's for the best, because that's not what the collective is experiencing right now. But it's not an indictment on you for feeling that way. There's a question over there.
I will say sorry, but I'm still stuck on the first question because I think that it's a very powerful question. Basically, she said after the first duty that Hashem said twice, very good, something very positive. When is the next time that Hashem told us to be positive or gave us instruction or gave us a tip or advice? And since I'm stuck about it, so I was thinking to myself that the next time was when Hashem told Ram, everything that your wife will tell you, listen to her. Why? Because I think that women have a special power to be extra positive and to be besimcha because our history shows us that in the darkest time, like in Egypt, the women were the one that tried to cheer them up. Miriam was 5 years old when her father, Amram, that was the leader of the generation, kissed her on her head because she said a word of positivity. So I think the woman has a special power to be besimcha. Miriam was the one that prepared the tangerine. We see the light that comes through every crack. So it's a big responsibility. So if you ask when was the next time, yeah, Hashem spoke to you, to us, be besimcha and bring simcha to everyone else around you. And we have the power, it's a big responsibility, but we have this power. There are many more examples for the history, but no offense to the men, yeah? But we have it, let's do it.
Amen.
Hallelujah.
I think, Ida, someone right behind you.
Yes.
Hello, my name is Mia, and I have a question. You were mentioning that your wife inspired you and encouraged you to be strong in the world, and she's strong in the home. So my question is, how can you be, and this is also a question to you, how can you find strength within your femininity to be nurturing, but within the home to be strong for your family, for them to be strong in the world?
I think you answer it. You can answer it. You've been around.
I think like Gedale said, everybody's different. Everybody comes with their own set of characteristics and strengths and weaknesses. I would say the best way forward would be to, and this is a Rabbi Jonathan Sachs quote, and he said, Hashem wants us to be in that space, in this intersection where what we want to do meets what needs to be done. And so as women, if we're the Akaris bias, if the home is where we feel strong, that's where we need to be. There are some women who feel that they want to work outside the home, and if they feel a pull to do that, then and there's a need for it, and there's flow, then that's where they need to be. So I think it's more about accessing our intuition as women, which is very strong, as you mentioned, and listening to it. It's a hard thing to do because we talked about background noise, and it's hard to filter that out. One thing that helps me is to just trust the people that I admire and respect, listen, and to what you said earlier about his question about processing emotions. There's a great quote, not a quote, just a little thought by Dennis Prager that he said, talked about emotion override. He said, so what if you don't want to do it? So he talked a lot about thought and, inspired us, but then there's action. And so you do it. So what if you don't want to eat breakfast in the morning? If you don't have an appetite, you eat breakfast, because you know that if you don't eat breakfast, what's going to happen? You're going to get hangry a couple hours later because you forgot to eat breakfast, and that sends you on a downward spiral. And on that note, I mean, we could take a couple more questions, but I do want to ask, I have a question for both of you. I want to get into practical tips. I think that's really important to walk away with something actionable that we can implement in our lives, like right away. It's all about the small things that build up. So can you share, each of you just share, what works for you, or what tips do you have that you feel resonated with the people that you've spoken to, like tachlis, action? What can you tell us? What can you share with us?
I mean, thank God I was able to do on the financial, we were able to raise over $200,000 for Israel. That's on the financial aspect. And on the physical, just getting everybody's spirits up. Especially people are more afraid in America than in Israel. Getting people's spirits up. I mean, right now God needs strength, not self-pity. So right now, just get people in the strength mode and the power of prayer. Praying for Israel. When we're praying for somebody, we're actually giving them a gift. So praying for soldiers, waking up, giving your time. Every single time you're saying Tehillim, you're connected to King David's midnight his bodedut. So we can. Nachman says when a person prays with fire, his enemies become fire. So practically, I've been praying with a lot of fire, and hopefully that was able to, and getting encouraging other people to pray with fire. So again, prayer, charity, and trying to build people up, and getting them to, to be strong and to be courageous.
Yeah. Gedale mentioned earlier this evening the power of the morning. Right?
Yeah.
The morning is so important. And I can tell you for myself and anyone that I've ever worked with, right? I work with a lot of people one-on-one. And when they make a decision, it's a choice to capitalize on that first hour of the day,
Yes.
to really make a conscious decision to start the day the way you want to live your life. Because our days unfold because of how we started. And then our weeks unfold because of how we started our days, and then our months, and then our lives. Meaning your whole life is in the hands of how you start your day, because everything unfolds from that place.
Right.
So that first hour, whether that's having a regimen of prayer, or it's meditation, or it's working out, or it's reading, but something that you know is going to put you in a state of alignment, where I know what I'm doing here, I know who I am, I know what my life is, this gives me purpose and meaning, this gives me grounding in my body, I know where I stand in this world, and I start my day that way. And I know for me, when I, for one reason or another, can't start my day the way that I normally do, it's a completely different day.
100%.
Trying to come back 3 hours later, 5 hours later, you can do it. And by the way, tremendous. There's a lot of techniques on how to come back. And I'm really big on resetting. But that first hour, what you do when you wake up, how you set your mind, heart, and body in those moments, your entire life shifts when you take responsibility for that time. And then maybe just to piggyback on that, we have to remember there's a reason why they set it up. The tefillah is a morning, afternoon, and night, because we need to come back. We constantly need to turn back in. We get lost throughout the day, and which is not a bad thing, but it happens. It's just the nature of the day is, first your kids were late in the morning, and then they tell you 10 minutes before you walk out the door that they didn't do their homework yet. And by the way, the lunch that you thought you prepared for them the night before, they said they didn't like, so now you have to do that. So your mind is going 1,000 miles a minute before it's 8 o'clock. And then you get to work, and now you're processing all the things at work. And so by the time you get to 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you're half a person.
Right.
So you got to turn back in. So finding a ritual, something to remind yourself to breathe. And that might just be literally breathing. There's something so powerful in sitting there and taking a couple minutes and just remembering that you're breathing. Just becoming conscious of the breath. You don't have to do anything. You just have to be there. So starting our days right and coming back in throughout the day, that can change our lives.
Yeah, we have a question here. Sorry. In normal times, I think I would have connected very well to what you're saying. My question now, you relate to the present war as this was, October 7 was. October 8 is for me still today. Not 7, but 8. How do you get your positivity and think of what you said about Rega is Akshav. Rega Akshav is very hard, and we are expecting many more Rega Imkel. I don't know how do you lessen the anxiety and the...
Thank you. That's a wonderful question. So the frame, of course, is that we are right where we are, and nothing is finished. That's like speaking to someone while they're in the trauma, when they're in the grips of the violent attack, and saying, you're going to be fine. It's nice, but it does nothing, right? Because I don't know if you've ever been with someone who's having a panic attack, but you're caught, you're in the grips, of something, and so no words are doing anything anyway. So there's two things that are always happening at any given moment, because the present moment is very big. You know how big the present moment is? It's everything.
Right.
When is everything happening? Now. Everything. Which includes this, by the way. This is happening now. And for me, this is a gift. That I get to speak to you is a gift for me. And I cannot expect of myself to hold every card in the deck at any moment. It's not possible. Because I can't think of all of the good and all of the bad at the same time. I can't do it. It's actually not possible. So we have to allow ourselves to go in and out. So what my life has looked like for the last month and a half is a lot of this and being joyful that I get to sit with you, and then getting home, sitting on the bed and crying. Why? Because I think about any story, any one story, and that's it, and then I'm done, right? And then I allow myself to feel that pain, and then I'll say some Tehillim, and then I go on to the next thing. Because the present moment is big, and so we don't ignore what, God forbid. I mean, I live in Israel, right? So you can't ignore what's happening. That's my day to day. I woke up on October 7th to sirens and bombs falling out of the sky. That Motzei Shabbos, right after Simchas Torah, I turned on the news to find out the worst thing that could possibly have happened, right? To our family, to people that everybody knows somebody, right, who's connected. So you're in a collective mourning. So we can't pretend other things aren't happening. But you get to choose, where are you grounding yourself now, in this moment? How do you want to be when, if you're with, I don't know if you are ever around little children, right? But when you're with a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, and not only do they make you happy, you want to be joyful with them, meaning that's what they need right now. What they need is your joy. If you sit there in a depression with a 3-year-old, so we're not showing up for them, for the people that we're with. So for me, on a personal level, in the privacy of my own home, in my own room, wherever I am, so I allow myself to go to other places because I feel a personal responsibility to feel the pain of the world, to feel the pain of Klal Yisrael. When I'm with a student or I'm with a client, and what they need right now is my strength, and they need my positivity because they're in a place where that's what they're looking for. It would be insensitive of me to not be in this moment, the moment that I'm truly with another human being right now that needs my joy. So long-winded response to say, the present moment is very big. It holds everything in it. And I focus on the gift that's in front of me. And this moment is the gift of speaking to you and to everyone in this room. And you can't ask me how I'll feel in 10 minutes because that moment hasn't come yet. So I don't know.
More questions? I think you pretty much answered.
Another question. One of my friends just said, and it's so true, the non-observant are becoming more observant, and those of us that are observant, I'm talking about myself, are very angry and questioning very much. When it happened, the thing, it's like when they said this, Joseph, chose us, can you choose somebody else for a while? This is the way I felt. And when you're saying about the morning when you get up, the morning when I get up, I put on the TV or the computer, and that's it for the next hour and a half. I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying I'm compulsive to see it, to watch what they've done to us and what we're doing now. I mean, I'm so angry. I don't know how to control that anger. I have kindness to the Rabbi Shalom. I'm not finished talking to him less. Yet, that kind of thing. And I don't think I'm the only one. I may be verbalizing it, but I don't think most of us even say it because we don't want to say it as observant Jews, especially if you come from a family of Chabad, which the Rebbe said to be with joy and everything. And it just doesn't work. doesn't work for me right now.
The essence of knowledge, and I've come from real pain, by the way. We're not throwing a wrench or coming out with some bubba maisa here. The essence of knowledge in life is to recognize you know nothing. And that's the bottom line. So when you come to the level of humility that you know nothing, you don't question God, you question your thinking. And that's the key. And obviously, if you're going to watch TV all day long, and what do you think you're going to get? I mean, bad news spreads 6 times better than good news. But there's so much light happening right now, and you need to see that. You're just watching the wrong things. And again, we all have to become humble. And we all have to become humble. And that's the problem. We think we know everything, and that's the root of all chaos in life. Thinking you know everything. We don't know anything. It could be Mashiach, we don't know. And the bottom line is this, there's a time to be done. We need to do what we need to do, but you also need to stay humble. Because when a person's humble, his prayers are heard. When a person's humble, God finishes the rest. The key, milchama, master of humility. So we need to stop really questioning our Creator and question our thinking. And recognize that, again, these same lessons keep on happening over and over again. And we need to see there's a major lesson that there is no unity, and we need to go back to unity. And we need to, unfortunately, these things happen. And we have to go to humility. At the end of the day, there's times, silence and action versus anger and questioning God. I promise you, you'll get nowhere there. But if you start crying out to God with a broken heart, out of humility, that's what you'll get. You'll get the joy, at least you're doing something, versus just adding to the CNN chaos. So that's my only suggestion to change your focus. I have family members also. They have major PTSD. But what are they doing? Day and night, watching this stuff. So what do you expect? Just like the same thing with COVID. People walking around with astronaut suits after COVID. And people were going out to eat. So, depending what you were watching. But the most important thing is to be humble. You have to check perspective at the end of the day. We don't know anything. And when you get to know something, it means even in a higher level of knowledge, you'll recognize you know nothing also. So it's my own experience that we have to just surrender this process, do what we need to do, but most importantly, what would they want from us? They would want unity, they would want our prayers, not obviously fighting or questioning God's. And that's why we have to we pray every single day, B'tahir lebeini, please purify my heart, of God forbid having any anger or any kind of questions towards my Creator.
I can just respond also. I didn't catch your name. Rose, thank you. Thank you. I think it is important that you brought that up, and I think a lot of people are feeling that. And for somebody who did spend the last month going around the country, you are not the only one. Not by a long shot. The only question I would have for you is, do you understand why you feel angry?
Right.
Does it make sense why you feel angry? Yeah. So should you be angry? Right. And right. And I think that just needs to be honored, because it's all, when we talk about being positive and plugged in and it's all good and it's working out, that's still true, by the way. None of that goes away. That's true. And you can be feeling something else at the same time. I mean, two things can be true at the same time. Things can be working out and you can be in pain now, right? You're building muscle while you're breaking muscle in the gym, right? Two things are happening at the same time. I think it's a bit late, but there's an exercise I run with people to really, really bring that home. Maybe another time I'll have to come back to Miami. But the fact that you feel frustrated and you have a question on God or a question on reality, how could this be? Why is this happening? I can't believe we're going through this again. So that actually makes sense, meaning that's a logical conclusion. Emunah is going beyond logic, and I think that's what Gedale was saying, is that sometimes we have to go beyond logic. But you don't deny the logic and say, well, the logic is false. No, 1 + 1 is 2. The logic is there. Look, you saw what happened. Yes, anger, frustration, resentment, fear, anxiety. Totally normal responses to abnormal situations. So we start there, and then once you're feeling okay, of like, yes, I should be upset right now, I should be frustrated, I'm allowed to be there. And what do I want to do now? And what now? Meaning, you get to have both sides. We're not locked in. You don't have to choose, I'm in the angry side or I'm in the positive side. We get to have the whole experience. Human experience is big, it's massive. It's the whole thing. So I appreciate the question, and we should all be blessed to get to a place where we don't have the questions, but we're all living in the answer.
Amen.
We have another question here. Ms. Tanya?
Thank you. It's kind of similar to your question, but I want to switch the lens. So I think you can do the most that you can to derive lessons from the hard things that happen to us and loss in general, because God made it happen for a reason. It's obviously by divine providence that this specific thing that happened to us, it's been happened to us, happened for us. But what's in our control as humans is to derive a lesson from it and to push ourselves to gain that clarity from what Hashem's that what he was trying to do for us. But I can't help but mention that there is a lingering of anger or sadness that comes with it. So how would you say that you can practically limit that feeling of lingering anger or sadness within you, doing the most that you can in your own regard to limiting, to finding the lessons that you can from whatever's happening that's not so beautiful?
The Reb Nachman always said, after a broken heart comes joy. So first, of course, is a broken heart, but there will be eventually a joy that we will receive. That means after we will see a joy, and again, positive thinking is believing there's a bigger picture. That there will be right now we're at the broken heart, but there will be eventually be joy afterwards. There's a great line that I always use: is we're all broken, but that's where the light comes in. That's where the light comes in with the brokenness, because we're finally, before we were too insensitive, we're too in our own worlds. Now we're all united. But after a broken heart comes joy. Rav Nachman says, after rage and depression comes nothing. Comes nothing. So you have to acknowledge the broken heart, like Moshe says, or Moshe says, you have to acknowledge right now there's a broken heart, but eventually we can be optimistic that there will be joy. So that's the whole thing, of being able to bring the future into reality right now. That is the only sane thing. And again, God needs our prayers, not our self-pity. And if you think about it right now, we have to pray for our soldiers. The Rabbi, they'd always say, pray for the soldiers to have emunah and BITACHON, so they're not afraid. Because if they're afraid, they're going to lose. So the Bible says, black and white, do not be afraid is the most common most common verse in the Torah. Do not be afraid. Number one. Number two, it clearly says when you go out to war, specifically, if you are afraid, they told the soldiers, go home. So the message with fear is not very light. You cannot have fear. This is the time to build bitachon. This is the time to build trust. And you have to go in with confidence. And when you do this, you will win. That's the Torah. The Torah's message is through confidence, through bitachon, you will win. So we have to follow these. We have to follow these laws of what God is telling us to have bitachon, even though it's not logical. But when you have that feeling that you have bitachon, you end up winning. You end up winning in absolutely everything in your life. And when you have fear, Reb Nachman says it's black and white. When you have fear, you're going to make mistakes. So that is the practicality of the attraction. When you go in there with a higher consciousness, with trust, you're going to win. Why? Because God surrounds mercy those who trust in Him. So I always said, we just have to do half the battle. The rest, this is God's war, it's not yours. You have to do half the battle, Hashem will do the rest. And that's always been my belief. And again, with anything else in my life, I go halfway, Hashem finishes the rest. These are also Rabbi Rush's words. These are also major rabbis have said these exact same words.
The Fenster said there's nothing so whole as a broken
Correct.
heart.
Correct.
So I think the assumption in your question is also that there shouldn't be that lingering, or how do I get beyond that lingering? And I'll just share with you an anecdote from my life, which is I remember when we were getting ready to have our first child. And every childbirth is different, right? Speak to anybody who's had children, and if they've had more than one, they'll tell you, yep, different. I mean, maybe you get the rare cases where like they're all the same. And you have a vision of how it's supposed to go, or a desire of how that birth is supposed to happen. And that's not my experience of watching my wife go through childbirth. And it was almost like everything that there was like a mental plan for went the wrong way. Everything. And there was a moment in my life when I was just watching the person I cared more for than anyone in my entire life going through pain. I felt a drop in my personal bitachon, in my connection, because I had that question that came up in me of like, but why? Like what? Like we did it all right, we set it up all right, and it didn't work out, and that pain did lingered for like a few months, and over time there was, and you can't change the past. What happened happened, right? So when we have feelings of frustration and anger and questions, that's part of reality. Part of reality is we go through things and we have questions. But then there comes a point where we make a decision to say, well, I'm here now, and really nothing changed. I went through an experience where now I questions showed up inside of me. And I get to make a decision now. Well, do I want a stronger relationship? Similar to what Gedale was saying before, which was that we go through these times of constricted consciousness and then higher consciousness.
Exactly.
So there's a time where we go down to this place where things feel small and tight and painful. And when we're in that place, it pushes us to try to come to a new understanding, a broader awareness, a more expansive way of looking at reality where we can hold space for all the parts. And you don't even have to look back and say it was good. That's a very high level to look back and say it was good. In fact, I think if anybody looks back and they point to the Holocaust or what's happening now and say that is good, again, God can say it. We can't. There's a reason why the Talmud says only when Mashiach comes can we say Gam Zu L'Tova on the bad, like on death. Right? We don't say that. When God forbid someone passes away, we say Baruch Dayan Emet. Why? Because a human being, from our perspective, from here, right? We're not God. We're not holding in that space, and that's okay. So it's okay to feel the pain and the lingering of that frustration, but to know you can make a choice to grow now at some point, and you don't even have to force yourself. At some point, it will be right. It will make sense to say, well, do I want to live with this anger anymore, or do I want to grow and not have that anger? Holding on to pain at some point becomes a choice. In the beginning, it's not. In the beginning, it is what it is. But at some point there's a great line from J.K. Rowling's, probably heard of her, where she said, there's an expiration date for how long you can blame your parents for your problems.
Right.
There's an expiration date for how long we want to hold on to the pain of our past to ruin our present and our future. And what we want to do is to be able to be sensitive to when that moment shows up. And when the moment shows up, now we start to grow. Yeah, sure. You don't get comfortable with negativity. You get to a place where you make a decision that you either want to go beyond it,
Take action.
or you take action, or you you're making a decision to stay negative.
Yeah.
Meaning it's binary in that regard. At some point, you do have the free will decision to grow and to make that step. No, not that it leaves when it's supposed to leave. There's a point along the way where you're now comfortable enough to make the choice to think differently, to expand your consciousness, to look for healing. Meaning in the beginning, we're not looking for healing. We just want to feel and be in the pain, because hard is hard. And at some point along the way, we say, you ask. Most of the questions that get sent to us, I can say about myself, and I imagine Gedale gets something similar, is, how do I get beyond this? The people are showing up with, okay, I got to a point where I don't want the pain anymore. And now I'm just trying to figure out how to get past it. But in the beginning, that question's not even there yet. It's just, I'm upset, I'm frustrated, I'm angry, I'm sad. Right? And so at some point along the way, we get to a point where we can make that decision.
Like even like the thing I said, talk about it instead of holding it in, which is the worst thing you could do. Talk about it. Visualize the soldiers coming. Visualize the hostages coming home. Visualize the redemption. Visualize it, and that's what we're supposed to do. The purpose of pain doesn't get you out of. Rav Hutner always said that prayer doesn't get you out of trouble. Trouble gets you into prayer. So here's trouble. Are we into prayer or are we just watching CNN all day long? You got to take action from these things. And I can tell you the people who are, I have people in the front lines. They're feeding kibbutzim, and they're the happiest people in the world. They're changing people's lives, and they're in Israel, and they have no business is closed. All they're doing is doing volunteer work, but they're getting so much light from helping people and putting CT on. They're taking action. So our job is to take action. Take inspiration is just light. You need a vessel. Take some kind of action that's going to help. Whether dedicating to Hillim, whether dedicating a certain amount of time, dedicate something. That's why all frustration is really inaction. All frustration in life is inaction. So if we're taking action, at least we know, hey, I'm doing something. Then you don't feel the negativity. You transform the anger in using an anger. God should eliminate Hamas. Use the anger in prayer instead of the anger towards why is this happening? Why am I feeling that way? We have to get out of the I and get into Hashem's into the ayin. Good. One more question. One more. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I will take 2 more questions and then call it an evening. Okay, so we'll get to you right after. Have this lady come up first.
The moment you take action, you go into action. You become the light.
Exactly.
Hi,
Exactly.
thank you so much for being here. My name is Esther. I'm trying to understand the karmic attraction and what the lessening of that is for me as or for us as a collective Jewish people, of the constant fact that we need to defend our existence. Like we are the only nation in the world that our existence is coming into question. Like, what is about this karmic attraction that we as Jews have that? And how do I reconcile it with myself and with my kids that their being Jewish comes into question and if they should exist at all?
I mean, there's a great story from Rabbi Yitzhak Hutner. Again, he was actually he was hijacked in a plane. He was hijacked in a plane back in 1980 something, and he says, why are we so hated by Ishmael? See, Esav was never thrown out of the house. Ishmael was thrown out of the house. So Ishmael, he basically has always had that resentment. And this is something, again, it's decreed in the Torah. And again, the way we fix this is by unity. Unity is the key. But when we're sitting there with Sinat Chinam, and we're sitting there parading in places, and we're sitting there hating each other, and we're basically, if we're not united, that means when we are united, God is our Father. When we are not united, God is a king. A king and a father have different rules. A father protects. A king, you lose the protection. So our job is really, really to recognize we are the chosen nation. We are blessed. And as long as we're united, we get the special protection. Once we lose that protection, anything can happen. That's what's scary, to lose that protection.
Hi, Esther. So this karmic back and forth reality that we live in, just to go in as succinctly as possible, the Svarim point out that Sarah was barren, Rivka was barren, Rachel was barren. I mean, all the foremothers were barren, and yet they all give birth to what becomes Yisrael, right? Which means that the existence is a miracle. And if you're not supposed to be here, and you're here, so the underlying nature of the people is, but aren't you not supposed to be here? And the way that you get to be here is if you live as a miracle. right? We have to live at that consciousness. That when we live as the gift of life that we were given, we get to live in love and peace and harmony, and we live in this Mashiach consciousness, right? In this new worldview, in a higher world order where we can live as a collective and feel that joy. But if we don't live at that space, right? If we're not at least trying to move in that direction, so maybe the question's not on the world, maybe the question's on us. Right? If we've been given the gift of life through a miracle, are we living as a miracle? So.
Beautiful.
One last question. I know someone else wanted to act, I think, so
Last
let's see if everyone act. Okay, so let's.
And I don't know about Gedale, but I'm happy to stay afterwards for people who still want to speak and schmooze and here. And Gedale's going to be here also, so for those who do want to get up and stretch your legs and maybe get to bed, you're welcome to do it.
First of all, I want to say thank you for all of you for such an amazing event. Secondly, Gedale, you always speak about giving up control, and I constantly hear that narrative of not being in control, knowing we're not in control, and when you give up control, you basically then you are able to get over your fears and anxiety and everything in life. So my thing is, how do you get over this kind of thing in control when you think, like somebody asked now, we don't want to be annihilated, right? We always say like the Jews are like the most persecuted people and everything. But how do we get to a point where we say to Hashem, we're not in control, we just give up everything and we just do prayer and everything else, but we're not in control.
Again, like we said, this is God. This is God's war. When the Jews were in Egypt, what did He tell them? Stop praying. I'll take care of it. God wins the wars. We have the illusion that we have to win. We have to win everything. We have to be united. We have to get the lesson. We have to be unified. The rest God will take care of. There's already so many stories of miracles and miracles and miracles that have happened after the wars, that have happened after the October 7th, that bullets were, Tehillim books were saved, just to show us in our face. We do our thing, God does the rest of the thing. When we don't, we lose that protection. So giving up control is doing what you need to do, be united. The rest, you need to know how to surrender. God, you could never do it by yourself. It's an impossible victory with all these nations surrounding us. We would be dead a long time ago, we would be gone. But God's constantly doing it. 6-Day War, He created people, they thought there were thousands and thousands of fighters. And it was not even real. So God has shown us in the past that He'll take care of it as long as we're giving up control to Him. And we believe in Him and we trust in Him. And same thing, splitting the Red Sea, splitting all the things. We have to go halfway, the rest God does. It's when we want to think it's us, my hands, my control. It's when you see everything crash in life. Of course, it's like an illusion. Fear and control is an illusion. And that's why all chaos, Rabbi Nachman tells us, all chaos in our life comes from ani yimloch. When the person says, I will control. The minute you say, I will control, and this was Eve's sin. Eve's sin was, I want to be a competitor to God. I want to be in control. So the minute we take control, you can expect, according to Rabbi Nachman, chaos. When there's control, is chaos. When you give up control and you have bitachon, there's trust and there's salvation. Right. The whole point is we have to live in that's why all miracles happen when we live in the consciousness of Ma. Ma is the name that God uses to create miracles. Ma is the name of 45. Ma means practicality of surrendering. So when we're connected to the name Ma, which is Adam 45, God saves us. He turns the problem into the solution. He turns the tzara into the light. When we're in control, we think it's us. We don't get that miracle. We don't get the arousal from above. Ma. Yeah. Ma is the name that God uses, which is the numerical value of 45. God has 4 names He has 26, 45, 52, 63. This is under when it's Yud Ke Vav Ke. Okay? That's a different, but in this particular situation, The name that 26, 45, 52, and I believe 60, 72. When the name is Yud Kei Vav Kei. So whenever there's a miracle happening in a person's life, the name that is used is the name Ma. This is why Ma, the state of Ma, is connected to the name of surrender. You understand? When we surrender to God's will, that's when God makes miracles happen. It's the name Ma. And everything happened in the garden. What happened is Adam is the numerical value of Ma, 45. Chava came into the picture. Her numerical value is 19. So everything chaotic in our lives, COVID-19, is from chaos. 19 is chaos. And who brought it in? Chava. Eve. What did Eve? Eve wanted to take control. So what happens? What's the numerical value of 45 minus 19? 26. So when you take control in your life and you want to be egotistical and you want to take control, you think it's your strength, you're taking God's name of 26, which is God's name of kindness, out of the picture. So all you get with is chaos. You understand? So this is why any time Rabbi Nachman says, when you go out to war, when the person goes out to war, he should capture his enemies. The word makshava in Hebrew means thought. You have to chashuv ma. Meditate on Ma. Meditate on giving up control to God. So when I'm telling you guys, hey, you don't know anything, I want to be honest with you. And I tell this to people, I have addiction centers, people go through the craziest problems. I said, first you need to surrender. Because without surrendering, we can't even get to the second step. Because you're busy fighting what is. Until you surrender, you will never get to the light of that situation. So the hardest thing with Jews is getting them to stop worrying and let go and let God. Goyim could do it. Okay, surrender, hallelujah, I'll surrender. But we have a problem of control, guys, and we need to give up control to our Creator. And once we do that, we will win. And if we don't think we're in control, then our lives just we're just resisting everything. And I can tell you that meditation changed my life. So anytime that I see chaos in my life, it's because I have an expectation, I have a control issue, which I have to control. These anger, it's always some kind of demand, not accepting the process. So when I see this, I go back to surrender. And when I surrender, everything goes back to order. So this is where Rabbi Nachman says, you are living a life of order, or you are living a life of disorder. It's up to you which consciousness you want to be in. But miracles do not happen in chaos. Miracles happen when we see the big picture and we can surrender to the bigger picture that's happening.
I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you all very much for coming out this evening and spending time with us.
Amen, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, everybody.